Tristan Reynolds. I'm the instructor, Mr. Beer. I'm here with Tristan Reynolds, and we're here to demonstrate the safe operation of the bandsaw. Tristan has put together a PowerPoint for us, which you will see at some point online. Along with that, in this video, we should be able to accomplish the feat of being a safe machine operator for the bandsaw. Okay? Alright, we're just going to start off with the PowerPoint here, and we're going to click the first slide. And it looks like Tristan put together a slide with the parts of the bandsaw for us. So I think yesterday we started from the bottom up. We'll start from the top and go down, Tristan. We're going to start at the very top of the bandsaw here. And at the very top we actually have a bandsaw guard. Go ahead, show. Yep. Okay, so that's our guard in front. And there's actually a couple of little hand knobs in the front. You can go ahead and take them off, actually, Tristan, and look inside there. Ready to tight? Let's do it. Yeah, I probably did. Nice and tight. There you go. Okay, be careful the shield doesn't actually fall off on you taking that off. Okay, at any given point in time, you probably won't have to remove this unless I ask you to, but at this point, Tristan's going to open this up so we can take a look inside. All right, we'll take that from you. Excellent. Okay, and inside the upper part of this bandsaw, you actually see an upper wheel. Go ahead and point to the upper wheel, Tristan. There we go. That's the upper wheel, and that's a non-driven wheel. Okay, that one's actually driven by the belt or the band itself. Okay, and the band is the saw blade. It's driven by that saw blade, which means our lower wheel, which we actually can't see, kind of point to where it's at, Tristan, if you would. Okay, our lower wheel is down there underneath that shield. That's actually driven by the motor itself. Okay, which again then in turns by the band drives the upper belt. All right. Now our upper wheel here is actually adjusted for the tension on the blade. Okay, and I think the tensioner, Tristan, if we come around the back side here. All right, the tensioner is on the back side, and it's a chrome hand wheel on top. Yep, that's one of our parts. So a chrome hand wheel allows us to, number one, if we turn to the right, which is righty-tighty, right, it tightens it. If we turn to the left, it loosens it. And it basically just takes that wheel and moves it up or down to put tension on the blade. Okay? What are the other parts back there? Just a tensioner. There's actually a wing nut. Go ahead and point to the wing nut there. The wing nut just allows us to lock the tensioner in place so that it's not moving on us while the saw is in operation. Okay? So if we adjust that, we make sure we tighten that thumb screw there just to make sure it's locked down. Okay, while Tristan's standing back there, he's going to point to the blade guard assembly. Yep, blade guard assembly. And this is part of it back here too. Okay, and there's actually a thumb screw on that blade guard assembly. Yep. When Tristan goes ahead and loosens that, go ahead and loosen it. There we go. Yep, you want to actually make sure you hold on to the blade guard. Okay, yeah. You want to hold on to that when you go to loosen that. But what it allows Tristan to do then is grab a hold of that, and he can move the blade guard up or down. And why would we, oh, it sticks right here a little bit. Okay, go ahead. There we go. Why would we want to move that up and down, Tristan? Any idea?
Thicker boards.
Thicker boards. So the thicker the board we want to move it up, the thinner the board we want to move it down. Okay, easy to tighten that up, good. Okay, you can come around back to this side. Excellent. Now down in front of that, there's actually blade guides. I'm going to bring the camera around and show the blade guides. They're right on the blade guides. Okay, we want to make sure that those are adjusted so they're right up to the blade and they almost, not quite, will actually pinch the blade. Okay. If those are out of adjustment at all, make sure you talk to me. We'll get them back in adjustment. But they're really at any given point in time shouldn't be a problem because we don't force this saw into cutting. We just make sure that it cuts the way it should, right? Okay, on the wheel itself, the camera come around and look at that too. On the wheel itself, right over here, the wheel. Okay, point to the, there's a little bit of plastic on the wheel, orange plastic.
Oh, right here.
Okay, there's plastic on that wheel. The plastic actually allows the blade to run on there and kind of stick to the wheel so that the blade doesn't run off as the machine's spinning, right? Okay. All right, the shield can actually go back on. Okay, so we can videotape him putting this back on. That way at some given point in time, if it does need to come off, I don't necessarily have to put it back on for people. Oh, get the other one started first. Oh, it's still loose. There you go. he's just going to make sure those are tight, and he's done deal. Good. Okay, on the back side of where the upper wheel is, go ahead and point to the back side here, right in the center. Yep, that's actually our blade guard as the blade comes up from the back side of the bandsaw or the lower wheel. Okay, and then behind that, yet further, is the actual frame of the bandsaw. Yep, that's our frame. Okay, that allows us to give a probably about, I want to say, a 12-inch gap between the table itself and the bottom of our adjustment height for the cutting of a piece of lumber. Okay, so we cut a pretty big piece of lumber in there. All right, below our blade guard is our table. Okay, Tristan, go ahead and point the table. There we go. Okay, so there's our table. And then out in front of that, there's a rail for the rip fence. Okay. On our table, sitting on it, is actually a miter gauge. You want to go ahead and pull that miter gauge off there, Tristan? It just slides out. Okay. There we go. Okay, so there's our miter gauge. All right, and what that allows us to do is make cross cuts. Go ahead and point to the rip fence then. You can put that back in there. Point to the rip fence. That rip fence there allows us to make rip cuts. And when we get to the table saw here, you'll also understand what those two cuts are. So rip and cross cut. Now we don't necessarily have to use a fence or a miter gauge in order to make cuts. You can actually do a freehand cut with the bandsaw, right? So you can make freehand cuts. All right. Below that, we talked about our lower wheel. Below the lower wheel then is our pedestal. Go ahead and you can see the pedestal there. So that's our pedestal at the bottom. And in front of our pedestal is our switch. And you see the switch is a lot like the joiner switch was, in that it's got a nice big stop on it. And it's safe to operate. Okay. All right, and then of course to the back of the machine again is our ductwork system. And Tristan can put his hand up on the gate. Yep. Right up there, the gate to open and close it in order to take all the dust away as we do this sawing operation. Simple enough. Question, guys, on the parts? All right, I'm going to flip to the next. All right, safety tips. Of course, every time we come to the saw, Tristan, we want to make sure we wear eye protection, right? Which we have today. Change blades with the power cut off to the machine. So again, you press the stop. If we have to actually change the blade, we want to make sure it's at zero state energy. And how do we do that? Remember from the miter saw? Just unplug it, zero state energy, perfect. All right, make adjustments with the power off, which we just, the adjustments, excuse me. When we make any adjustments to the blade guide, point the blade guide again, so you remember, good. Make adjustments to the blade guide, we want to make sure we're stopped. Let's see, blade guide's a 1/16 of an inch higher than the stock, all right? So here's Tristan's stock, this is what he chose to use. All right, he's actually going to adjust that blade guide, and it would be actually the bottom of the blade guides themselves. Okay, need to be about a 1/16 of an inch right above the top surface of this board. Okay, so I'm going to help Tristan here remove the rip fence and the miter gauge because we don't actually need those. We're going to make a freehand cut when we go to demonstrate it. Okay, but he's going to go ahead and he's going to adjust that so that it's a 1/16 of an inch of the board. Excellent. And then he's going to tighten this little thumb screw here because I see our blade guides are a little bit loose. There we go. All right. And he should be set there to make a cut. The reason we want to do that is we have our blade being guided to the closest surface of the board, and as we cut, it's going to allow our blade to not flex too much and then break, right? Okay, so that's what we want to eliminate. No cylindrical stock. You notice here we have a flat piece of stock. We don't want to use anything round. It's awfully dangerous to cut. Check the blade tension. The blade tension should actually be about a 1/2 of an inch play as you push on the side of it, right? So Tristan's going to go ahead and he's going to raise that blade guide now. We saw the adjustment. So we're going to raise it up out of the way. There you go. Go up quite a ways. Keep going. There you go. He's going to tighten it down. Okay, and then he's going to push on the side of the blade. Yeah, you see how it's got about a 1/2 of an inch, not quite play, right? That means it's got plenty of tension and we should be set to go. Okay? Keep fingers 2 inches away. Now on this saw doesn't run as fast a high RPM as the table saw does, or the joiner, or the circular saw. Okay, and we're doing a freehand cut, which allows us to actually get our hands slightly closer. All right, and we're going to say 2 inches away, so that's perfect on this PowerPoint. Just again, remember 2 inches. You can tend to want to be a little bit closer as you're making these cuts, but again, 2 inches, make sure that happens. Okay, do not twist the blade. So as we're cutting, we want to make sure that we don't make too sharp of a turn, because too sharp of a turn is going to twist the blade, and then what will happen? Snap it and break it in half. Okay, we don't want that to happen. Okay, clean up the machine when you're finished. Makes it better, safer, easier to work with. All right. Okay, we're going to switch to the next one here. All right. What does it do? The bandsaw cuts boards in straight and curved lines. Perfect. That's exactly what we do. Okay. The bandsaw runs a thin strip of metal, the teeth around the loop, which cuts the board that is run through it. All right. So it just, again, the spinning motion runs a fine blade. Nice thing is it's a real small blade, right? So it doesn't take a big chunk of wood out the center of the board as we're cutting. Okay. Stay back when you're not using the saw blade, so a little bit of safety tips. So if Tristan was over here, come around to the front, he'd be cutting from this side. Go ahead and adjust the blade guide down again. I just wanted to show the operation of the play of the blade. Stand like you're going to be cutting. Okay, he's standing here like he's going to be cutting in front of the saw. All right. The one spot he definitely doesn't want to stand is number one, me. If I'm over here by him, I want to make sure I'm not standing next to him because that could distract him. Number two, we don't want him to stand here on the side of the saw, because if this saw blade breaks, it's actually going to feed out this direction, right? And that could be dangerous, potentially dangerous. So we want to make sure we're standing in front. Okay. Ear protection possibility. This saw isn't overly loud, but again, with other operations going on, it is possible to do that. Let's see. Make sure you use the right blade for the job. This one here is always equipped with a wood band in it. And of course, most times in this shop, we're just going to be cutting wood, so this blade is actually pretty universal for everything we'll do. Feed the wood through the blade at an even pace. Again, he's not going to push the board through as fast as he can. It's just a nice even pace. Allow the machine to cut, right? When finished, turn it off. Now, if it's not done spinning, is that all the way off? No. We want to make sure we're here until it comes to a complete stop. The bandsaw can spin at 1700 RPMs. Okay, so it does spin fairly fast. It's not quite as aggressive as other equipment like we talked, but it still can be. So again, that's the reason for our safety margins. They have blades up to 1.5 inches wide. Here we have 1/4 inch wide. Okay, so we're set to go there. Let's see. Okay, we talked about the speeds, so we're set there. It looks like we're done and pretty much through the safety. Okay. At this point, I don't believe anything was really let out. We did do the safety margins. We talked about where the guide needs to be adjusted. The only thing we didn't talk about at this point is relief cuts. Now, when we make a sharp curve cut, we actually want to make small cuts to that curve in order to be able to make that curve so we don't bind the saw blade like we talked before and then it breaks, right? Okay. Anybody here have a pencil on it? Pencil on them, quick? We have one right back here, probably on the table. Yep. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Now what we're going to do on I should have had a pencil with me, but I didn't, because I didn't expect us to have to do some relief cuts, but we're going to do it anyway. Now what Tristan's going to do is we're actually going to take the board and we're going to draw a arch around the edge of the board. Okay, and it's basically just a guideline for Tristan to follow. Now what Tristan's going to do is he's actually going to come in here and he's going to make some cuts with that bandsaw blade. You know, 1/8 inch or so apart, a whole bunch of cuts. Now what he's actually going to do is he's going to come up slightly short of that line. You follow me? Okay, because if we actually just dig right in here with the saw blade, we could actually potentially bind it and break. So what we're going to do is a series of straight cuts all the way up to our arch. All right, and then we're going to come back through with our saw blade, and we're going to take all those little pieces of wood off as we go through here. Right, that's going to allow for our curve. Okay, again, stopping short of the line, and then come through with our saw blade, cut all of those pieces off. Make sense? Okay, we're actually going to, once we cut, we'll be still short of that line, but we can take a sander, and we'll sand to the line, and then we'll be done with our arch. Right? Okay. Yep, just short of the line, make small little relief cuts, right? And then follow the curve as far as the cut. Right? Go ahead. He's going to turn the saw on. Normally we'd have the dust collection on, but today we don't because it gets awfully loud as far as video. You notice his hands. He's also not putting his hands in line with the blade either. Alright, that's another safety tip we want to follow. Keep them off to the side. Okay, you see how he backs out? Now he backs out real nice and slow. Alright? And not to bind the blade as he does this. The other thing is actually you don't want to back out if you're cutting all the way through the board. If you cut over halfway through, we don't back out of a curve. Okay? I guess you can back out, but you want to make sure you stop the saw first and then back out. Okay? So I'm actually going to quit talking here and we're going to allow him to make these cuts. Alright, and then he'll cut the arch off, and then we should be done with safety at that point. Alright? Okay, that there concludes our bandsaw safety operation. Along with the PowerPoint and the video, at this point you should be able to talk to your instructor and get the safety test to pass to 100%, and then you would be considered the safe operator of the bandsaw.